So let's now go from the culture war question to one about rights and responsibilities. We talked about the Trump administration turning coronavirus into a culture war because they have to. They're losing on the science, so they're making it a culture war. Now I want to focus in on the so-called liberty coronavirus protesters, the people talking about liberty and government tyranny as the reasons why states must open and masks must not be worn and I need my hair dyed and all of this stuff. They are the ones talking about why churches and restaurants and hair salons must all be open right now. I have to tell you, I'm sympathetic to their desires. I want everything open as soon as possible. I believe we are only needing to be this closed because of early failures by not just the Trump administration, but also many governors. I am skeptical of a total indefinite shutdown as an even remotely reasonable thing that could or should extend more than a minimum amount of time. It's bad for people's mental health. It's terrible for the economy. But the thing is, I'm regularly proving my level of responsibility that would go with the freedoms that I want. And the problem is that these protesters and these so-called tyranny people regularly prove they can't be responsible with the freedom they claim an absolute right to. I don't know if this idea originally came from Eleanor Roosevelt, but she once wrote, quote, "Freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility. For the person who is unwilling to grow up, the person who does not want to carry his own weight, this is a frightening prospect." Restrictions on freedom essentially stem from people abusing freedoms and forcing a restriction on those so-called freedoms. So let's really dig into it and understand it. First of all, I want to be clear. When the gun people for the last 10 years that I've been doing the show talk to me about government tyranny, I never imagined they were talking about wearing a mask and staying home to watch Netflix, right? I never imagined that's actually what they were talking about. But let's take them at their word that this is tyranny as they see it, and it's about the economy, and it's about liberty. If everyone were responsible, we wouldn't need nearly as many restrictions. When you were talking about a virus, a few people can ruin it for everybody. There's one recent study which estimated 80% of the spread is caused by 9% of the people that are infected. In other words, most people who have the virus aren't infecting anyone. They are infecting 0 people. A small number of people are infecting a whole bunch of others. Now, some of these are of course, not irresponsible behavior people that are causing the spread, but many of them are. And so the very people demanding absolute and total freedom have in many cases shown no evidence that they can actually bear the responsibility that comes with that freedom. The same people demanding everything reopen are often the people continuing to have mass gatherings, hosting huge services at their megachurch, refusing to wear a mask as some kind of political statement. The reason governors had to put in place restrictions and then stricter restrictions and then stricter restrictions is because simply communicating the facts about the disease didn't get people to act responsibly. So over time, people work from home. Masks become a requirement. Businesses have to close. Supermarkets have to put in place more and more guidelines. Parks have to close. They only insist on their rights in a total vacuum where their responsibilities are not being met and aren't even being discussed. It is petulant, childish nonsense to simply say, my rights, my rights, my rights, and pretend that you have no responsibility to society. And in fact, it's what Donald Trump does. It's mimicking Trump. It's basically this I wanna stuff, and nothing else matters. Your right to get your hair dyed so that your roots don't show must happen in the context of ensuring that you're not getting people sick when and where there is a deadly virus spreading. And so then they will shift their bogus bad faith arguments. Liberals want the economy closed. They want to hurt businesses, maybe to hurt Donald Trump in November. Find me an actual example with evidence of someone who makes it clear they want the economy hurt, either for the sake of hurting the economy or to hurt Donald Trump or whatever. I will be right there with you in slamming them. I've been clear from day one. Trump has long overstayed his welcome in the White House. We didn't need his coronavirus failings. We don't need a higher death toll to justify removing Donald Trump in November. I don't want anybody to lose their business or their job or their life because of coronavirus for a political statement. But the irresponsible people who talk only about their rights as the reason why we are here today, every right comes with another side of the coin. The First Amendment, the right to free speech and freedom of religion and right to assemble, until you're assembling in a way that infringes on others or using the speech to incite violence, use the right responsibly. The Second Amendment, you have the right to keep and bear arms, of course, as long as you behave responsibly in your life, as long as you don't commit certain crimes where you have to forfeit your right to bear those arms. The right comes with responsibility. The freedom of my fist, as the example goes, to fly around stops at your nose. And if I don't use that freedom responsibly, I will be in trouble. So every time one of these protesters is demanding their rights in a vacuum with no discussion of the responsibility that they will bring, let's hear from them what responsible behavior they are bringing to the table. Otherwise, it's just BS, and that's what we're increasingly seeing. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at @Pakman. And remember, this show has a daily hour-long podcast. If you watch on YouTube, for example, you can get the full hour-long audio podcast. We're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, all of those things. Subscribe free to the daily audio podcast. We'll take a break and be back after this.